Okay, let's just get this out of the way. I'm the asshole. I know I am. The worst part isn't even the knowing, it's the clarity of it. I'm a COO at a fast-growing tech firm. My entire job is to analyze data, predict outcomes, and execute flawless strategies. I saw every red flag, every warning sign, and I drove right through them like they were decorations. His name is Kai, or was Kai, I don't know what tense to use anymore. For 5 years, he was the quiet, steady rhythm beneath the chaos of my life. While I was in boardrooms fighting for funding and market share, he was in his small studio, painstakingly restoring ancient books. He'd spend weeks coaxing life back into a 17th century manuscript, his hands steady, his focus absolute. I used to tell my friends he was my anchor, my slice of analog soul in a digital world. It sounded poetic, didn't it? It made me sound deep. But if I'm being brutally honest with myself now, what I really meant was that he was manageable. His world was small, predictable. He was kind, he was patient, and he loved me in a way I mistook for unconditional. Our fights were never explosive. They were always about my method, about how I'd streamline our vacation plans without asking or optimize his studio layout while he was out. Each time, he'd get this quiet, wounded look in his eyes and say some version of the same thing. Sienna, can you please just include me? Talk to me like I'm your partner, not a project to be managed. I'd apologize, feel a brief pang of guilt, and then forget, because in my world, results mattered more than the process. I just never understood that his patience had a limit, and I, with the precision of a guided missile, aimed right for it. It all came to a head with the house. Buying our first home was supposed to be the ultimate merger, the physical manifestation of our shared future. For months, it was our favorite topic, the thing we dream about late at night. Kai, in his meticulous, loving way, had created a spreadsheet. Not one of my sleek, formula-driven monstrosities, but a careful, thoughtful document filled with columns for property taxes, average sunlight exposure for his future studio, and even the history of the neighborhoods. He was completely invested. We'd found the one, a charming but slightly run-down craftsman on a quiet, tree-lined street. House A, it had a gnarled old oak tree in the backyard and a small, dusty attic room with a perfect north-facing window. My studio, he'd whispered during our first viewing, his eyes shining. He had already drawn detailed sketches of how he'd lay out his workspace, where his presses would go, where he'd build shelves for his rare pigments. He was talking to a specialist about restoring the original hardwood floors. He was building a life for us in his mind, board by board. But God, it was slow. His process was one of reverence, mine is one of conquest. While he was researching 100-year-old plumbing, I was getting antsy. My world moves at the speed of light. Deals are closed in hours, not months. Our agent, Amelia, a shark in a blazer who understood my language, kept sending me other listings. Just for comparison, she'd say. Then came the call that detonated everything. Amelia had a pocket listing. House B, it was a sterile, modern new build in a trendier, up-and-coming area. Glass walls, smart home integration. A kitchen designed for entertaining clients, not for two people making pasta on a Tuesday night. It was also 20% over our agreed-upon budget. Sienna, the craftsman, is a lovely project, Amelia purred over the phone, but this is an asset. This is a power move for a woman on your trajectory. She knew exactly which buttons to push. It was an investment, a statement. I met her there an hour later. The place was empty, echoing, and cold, but I saw it through her eyes. I saw myself hosting company parties, my reflection gleaming in the polished concrete floors. It was a COO's house. Kai's craftsman was a book restorer's house. In that moment, a toxic narrative bloomed in my head, fully formed. I was doing this for us. I was elevating us. Kai was sentimental. I was strategic. He thinks with his heart, I think with my head. Someone has to be the adult here. I convinced myself that I could handle the higher mortgage on my own if need be, so I wasn't even putting him at risk. It was a strategic upgrade, a surprise gift. I signed the offer right there, transferring the non-refundable deposit from my phone before the ink was even dry. Driving away, the adrenaline of the decision was intoxicating. For a fleeting second, a tiny voice whispered, "You should have called him." I crushed it instantly. No, a surprise is better. He'll see the logic. He'll be grateful. I was so high on my own perceived brilliance, my own decisiveness, that I never once considered that what I had just signed wasn't a purchase agreement, but a death warrant for our relationship. I really, truly believed I was the hero of our story. I walked in the door feeling like a conqueror returning from a victorious campaign. I was practically vibrating with the energy of it. Kai was in the kitchen, carefully decanting tea into his favorite ceramic mug, the picture of tranquility. The scent of bergamot and old paper hung in the air. He smiled when he saw me, a soft, genuine smile that used to make my insides melt. "Hey, you're home early." "I did something," I announced, dropping my briefcase on the floor with a loud thud. I couldn't contain the triumphant grin spreading across my face. "Something amazing for us." He turned, his brow furrowed in gentle curiosity. "Okay. What did you do?" I pulled the signed offer from my purse and slapped it down on the kitchen island like a winning poker hand. "I bought us a house. The one Amelia showed me. It's perfect." The deal was too good to pass up. We had to move fast. The smile vanished from his face. It didn't just fade, it was extinguished. He didn't look at the paper. He just looked at me. There was no joy, no surprise, just a quiet, hollow shock. You bought a house without me." "I secured it for us," I corrected, my voice a little too bright. "It's an investment, Kai, it's a smart move. The craftsman was a money pit, a sentimental dream. This is our future, a real, solid asset." He finally picked up the papers, his hands, which were always so steady, trembling slightly. He scanned the address, the price. I saw his shoulders slump. "This isn't the house we chose," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "This isn't the studio, this isn't. See." And that's when the rage started, a hot, familiar tide rising in my chest. How dare he look at this perfect, brilliant gift I had given him and see a betrayal? My cognitive arrogance went into overdrive. The problem couldn't possibly be my decision, it had to be his failure to appreciate it. "Oh, I'm sorry," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "I should have waited another 6 months while you cross-referenced soil acidity reports." "Kai, in the real world, opportunities don't wait for you to finish your watercolor sketches. Someone has to be the adult, someone has to make the tough calls." "This wasn't a tough call, Sienna," he said, his voice gaining a sliver of strength. He put the papers down gently. "This was a unilateral decision about our shared life. You didn't just buy a house. You erased me from the equation." "Erased you? I elevated you. I just put us in a league you couldn't even imagine. That little craftsman was a hobby, not a home. This is a real house for successful people." He just stared at me, and in his eyes, I saw 5 years of quiet frustrations, of being managed and optimized, crystallize into a single point of unbearable clarity. He looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. "It was never about the price or the neighborhood," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "I would have lived in a shoebox with you. This is about respect. It's about the fact that you don't see me as an equal partner." Respect, that word. It was the match on the gasoline. All my insecurities about his quiet, intellectual world that I couldn't conquer or quantify. All my resentment for his contentment that I mistook for a lack of ambition. It all came boiling to the surface. I needed to hurt him. I needed to crush that calm, principled certainty he held. I needed to win. "Respect," I laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "What does a guy who glues old paper together for a living know about respect? You live in a fantasy world with your dusty books. You're useless, Kai. Do you hear me? Utterly useless. Without me, you couldn't even afford the rent on our shitty apartment, let alone a house. Without me, you are nothing." The words hung in the air between us, toxic and radioactive. I saw the last bit of light in his eyes die. I had done it. I had finally broken him, and in that sickening, twisted moment, it felt like a victory. I didn't wait for a response. I turned on my heel, snatched my car keys from the hook, and slammed the door behind me so hard a picture frame rattled on the wall. I peeled out of the driveway, the screech of the tires the perfect punctuation to my final, devastating sentence. I drove for hours, the adrenaline coursing through me, replaying my lines, savoring the brutal efficiency of my words. He'll be a wreck when I get back, I thought. He'll have had time to think. He'll finally understand. He'll apologize. He always does. I returned 3 hours later, the victorious anger having cooled into a smug, weary satisfaction. I had rehearsed my magnanimous acceptance of his apology. I'd be firm but forgiving. I'd explain slowly why my decision was the right one and we'd move on. I unlocked the door, expecting to find him sitting on the couch in the dark, waiting. But the apartment was silent. A different kind of silent. Not the peaceful, comfortable quiet of Kai reading, but a dead, hollow silence that felt like a vacuum. The light in the kitchen was on, casting long shadows down the hallway. Something was wrong. He wasn't on the couch. He wasn't in the bedroom. I found him in his studio. 2 cardboard boxes, the ones he used for transporting rare books, were packed and sealed on the floor. His favorite tools, the ones he'd inherited from his mentor, were gone from their leather roll. His work lamp was off. He was standing by the window, looking out at the city lights, wearing the jacket he'd worn on our first date. Kai, my voice sounded small, uncertain. The smugness evaporated, replaced by a cold knot of dread in my stomach. He turned around slowly. There were no tears on his face, no anger. Just a profound, soul-deep exhaustion that scared me more than any screaming match ever could. This was his version of a confrontation. A quiet, devastating finality. "Your words tonight, Sienna," he began, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. They were a clarification. "I've spent years feeling like a project you were trying to fix, a variable in your life you needed to optimize. I always told myself I was misinterpreting it, that it was just your way. But you made it perfectly clear. You don't see a partner when you look at me. You see an accessory. A dependent." "No, Kai, that's not true. I was angry, I just said that to hurt you," I pleaded, the words feeling clumsy and false even as they left my mouth. He gave a small, sad shake of his head. "The things we say to hurt people are the things we really believe. You just finally gave a voice to the contempt you've been feeling for a long time. I can't build a future with someone who holds me in contempt. I can't live in a house that was bought to erase the man I am." He picked up the 2 boxes. They seemed impossibly small to contain a 5-year relationship. "I'm tired, Sienna," he said, walking past me towards the door. "I'm just so tired of trying to prove my worth to the one person who was supposed to see it without question." I scrambled after him, grabbing his arm. "Don't do this, we can fix this. I'll cancel the offer on the house tomorrow, we'll lose the deposit, I don't care, we can go back to the craftsman." He gently removed my hand from his arm. "It was never about the house," he said again, his eyes empty. "It's too late." And then he walked out, closing the door softly behind him. The click of the latch echoed through the silent apartment like a gunshot. Panic clawed at my throat. I grabbed my phone, my fingers fumbling as I tried to call him. It went straight to voicemail. I sent a frantic barrage of texts. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. Please come back." None of them were delivered. He had blocked me. Instantly, efficiently. In desperation, I called our mutual friend, Olivia. I sobbed the story down the phone, expecting sympathy, expecting her to tell me he was just overreacting. Instead, there was a long, uncomfortable silence on the other end of the line. "Sienna," she finally said, her voice strained with an awkwardness that felt like a physical blow. "What did you expect? You called the kindest, most principled man we know useless. You invalidated his entire existence. I can't get involved in this. I hope you two can figure it out." She didn't offer to call him. She didn't offer to mediate. She just wanted off the phone. That polite, awkward distancing was 1,000 times worse than if she had screamed at me. It was the sound of my support system quietly backing away. I hung up, the phone slipping from my sweaty hand. My world was tilting on its axis. I stumbled back into his now empty studio, my gaze falling on the drafting table. There, left behind, was his sketch for the Craftsman House studio. It was covered in little notes and annotations. He'd planned a small, built-in bookshelf right next to the window. In his elegant, precise handwriting, a small note was penciled in. "Sienna's reading nook, for when she needs a quiet place." And next to it, a tiny, almost imperceptible heart. He hadn't just been building a space for himself. He had been building a space for us, and I, in my infinite wisdom, had bulldozed it. The drawing, so full of love and hope, was the cruelest piece of evidence against me. I sank to the floor, the sound of my own ragged sobs filling the unbearable silence. It's been 6 weeks, or maybe 7. The days bleed into each other, a gray, formless smear of regret. I closed on the house. House B, my lawyer said backing out would be a financial nightmare, a stupid move on top of a stupid move. So now I live here, in this cold, echoing monument to my own hubris. The smart home features mock me. The lights turn on automatically when I enter a room, as if to illuminate my solitude. The minimalist furniture I ordered online looks sterile and temporary, like a hotel lobby no one ever checks into. There are no books on the shelves. There is no scent of old paper or bergamot tea. It doesn't feel like a home, it feels like a crime scene. Work, my once reliable sanctuary, has become a torture chamber. My decisiveness now feels like recklessness. My strategic thinking feels like cold calculation. During a board meeting last week, I looked at the faces around the table, and all I could think was, which one of you would I crush to win an argument? The thought made me feel sick to my stomach. I've been slipping, missing deadlines, fumbling presentations. My boss pulled me aside yesterday, his face a mask of corporate concern. "Is everything all right, Sienna? You seem distracted." I just nodded and told him I was fine. The silence Kai left behind is an active, malevolent presence. It follows me from room to room. I've tried to fill it with noise, podcasts, 24-hour news, music, but it just seeps through the cracks. In the quiet moments, his last words play on a loop in my head. "It's too late." And then there's the digital stalking. It's the most pathetic, self-destructive ritual of my day. I know his personal social media is a wasteland, he blocked me everywhere. But I found a loophole: his professional accounts. The ones he can't really make private. His university's alumni page, the Book Restoration Guild's forum, his professional networking profile. It's a pathetic little window into a life that is moving on without me. Most days, there's nothing. An article he liked about Japanese papermaking techniques. A comment on a colleague's post about a new binding method. Each tiny, mundane update is a fresh stab of pain. It's proof that his world, the one I called small and useless, continues to turn without me. Then, this morning, it happened. His professional profile picture changed. The old one was a stuffy headshot I had made him take. The new one? It stopped my breath. He's in a new studio, sunlight streaming in through a huge arched window behind him. He's smiling. Not the soft, gentle smile he reserved for me, but a wide, unburdened, genuinely happy grin. He's holding up a beautifully restored medieval text, his hands steady and sure. And the location tag underneath the photo reads, "Chief Conservator, the Redwood City Museum of Antiquities." The Redwood City Museum, the job he told me about a year ago. The dream position he was too intimidated to even apply for. I remember the conversation vividly. I had scrolled through the job description on his laptop and scoffed. Redwood City. It's a small town, Kai. The salary is a joke. It's a career dead end. I had systematically, efficiently, dismantled his dream because it didn't fit into the 5-year plan I had mapped out for us. For me, he took the job, the one I told him wasn't good enough, and he looks happy. He looks free. He looks like a man who has finally been given the space to breathe. I stare at the photo, my thumb hovering over the screen, wanting to zoom in, to analyze every pixel of his new life. I refresh the page, and again, as if somehow, by a sheer act of will, I can make his smile disappear or make the location tag change back to our city. But it doesn't. He is there, and I am here in this big, empty house I won, trapped in the digital hell of my own making, watching the man I called nothing become everything without me.